Hey guys, you're starting a new writing assignment, and one thing you need to think about is your audience. Not so much what they look like, but how old they are, and maybe their reading level or their language level. So you need to imagine yourself outside of school. You're in the work world, working at your dream job, where you want to end up working someday. And then you need to imagine what people, the age of people, might be reading things that you've written. You might be writing something on a website, some information people need to know on a website. Maybe you've put something on the wall, a notice or a policy that people need to be aware of, or some kind of instructions for somebody to follow. So these are all different places you might write, and you need to imagine your audience. For example, if you work at a hotel, you could have some fairly young people coming to your hotel and reading notices on the wall. Right? Safety notices, for example. You could have fairly old people coming into your hotel. Maybe you work for a bank. Again, a young person can open a bank account and a very old person could be working with people at the bank. Maybe it's a new employee, a brand new employee. And here in Canada, you could be fairly young and get a job, 13, 14 years old. Right? Maybe you own your own business or you're providing a service. Again, we have quite a range, an age range of people that we could be writing for. Maybe you're sending out emails to people, and they again could be fairly young and fairly old. So we need to keep that in mind, right? We have a very large audience that we're writing for. We're not just writing for a small audience that's only 30 or 40 years old, or right? This is a very, very large audience, very young, people that are still in school, and very old, people that are, almost at the end of their life. Now we need to think about examples of writing. We need to find a good example of writing that's written for a large audience like that. So if you think of a novel, for example, it's a fairly thick book. You're probably not going to be writing a novel when you get into the work world, right? Even a short story. Short stories have character and character development and the setting, and they're describing the plot, and the plot has a climax. You're not going to be writing like that in the work world. You're not going to be writing poetry in the work world. You're probably not going to be writing an essay, right? Essays exist in schools, but you're probably not going to be writing an essay when you enter the work world. So you've got to think about what kind of writing I'm producing for a very large audience. So we do need a good example of real world writing for that large audience. And I think our best example are going to be professional magazines that exist in the real world, like Maclean's magazine and National Geographic magazine and Time magazine and Psychology Today magazine, and magazines that are professional and well respected. Those magazines are often written for people that are still in school and people that are very, very old, and everybody in between. Newspapers are another great example. So what we need to do now that we know what kind of writing we need to use those articles in magazines and maybe newspapers as well. That's the kind of writing we want to do. We need to take a real closer look at that writing. Let's pick it apart in detail and try and figure out how are these real professional authors creating these types of documents. And that's going to be our job then, is to create those same documents in that same way.